Happy Wednesday. About, 18, 20 hours after the Flash review embargo is relieved, and nobody knows how to act, and that includes many of the reviewers. Um, Listen, if you run into someone's review and you don't like the review, move on. I mean, total agreement, as I always say, is not a prerequisite to respecting someone's opinion. And I'm seeing some people who gave a mediocre to average review of the Flash, and people are going after him. And I'm like, saying some awful things and saying, those people aren't qualified to have an opinion. I have less of an issue with someone who saw it and honestly thought it was this or that than the absolute bonehead trades that couldn't, for all their education, for all the degrees, the literary degrees that these people have, could not give a simple review on the movie without trying to highlight what I consider, for these purposes, their worthless opinion about Ezra Miller's transgressions. You've had a year to shove that down my throat. You've had a year to make people care about that. They've decided that they didn't. So now, instead of giving a legitimate review of a movie, you're going to do one last ditch effort to try to make me care about something that I don't care about right now, and that the majority of the population, whether they know it or not, don't care about. They couldn't even review the movie. These are people who's, like I said, listen, if you've listened to or been on the air with me at any length of time, you know I have nearly zero use for trades. I think trades are a waste of oxygen for the most part. And I know a lot of pundits rely on them and look down on people who look down on trades. I don't care. I don't care. As far as them being a source of unbiased information, it's just not, they just don't do it. That's not their role. A lot of them showed that today. And not just the trades, a lot of other ones today. I mean, could not, it was like, it was completely outside the realm of ability to give me a honest review of what they thought about the movie. I don't give a rat's ass what you think about Ezra Miller. I don't care. I barely care about your opinion of the movie. But if that's what I'm going, if you're telling me you're giving me a review, then give me a review of the movie. I could give two shits less about your feelings about Ezra Miller's transgression. None. Zero. Zilch. People use these reviews as a tool to guide them to go to the movie, not to guide them when they're going on a date. It's not a single site. I'm not eating dinner with Ezra Miller. All right, we're not going out. And as far as his legal transgressions, there is a process that we call the law that is more than capable of handling that. And unless I'm sitting on the jury, not my job right now. I'm a consumer. So yeah, today's been a wild shitstorm of people just being complete morons, either giving moronic reviews that had nothing to do with the movie, or going after people who just gave their honest opinion about it. And listen, a lot of these reviewers who gave their honest opinion, I don't know what movie they saw. We went and saw the same movie. They came out with two different things, and that's fine. I would urge people not to go after those guys in that manner. You can agree to disagree, but let me go ahead and say hi to our beautiful chat. How you doing, Max? What's going on? Vince, how you doing? Yeah, no, Max is still awake. He's probably going to doze off here. What's going on, Manzano? What's up? How you doing? How's everybody in the chat doing? Playing Speedstorm. I don't know what that is, and he's going to bed. I'm doing all right, Jalen. What's going on, Jacob? I had a little bit of energy. I'm actually going to be going to bed relatively early because I got a big day tomorrow. But yeah, I just wanted to chime in. I wasn't on last night, and I wanted to be, and I want to keep a semi decent flow schedule until Enoch comes back, and then we find out what nights he's going to be streaming on, and then I'll fall into those slots. But until then, I don't like to keep things too dormant. No, I don't have any specific details I can put out right now. But I just obviously we all know he's coming back, so I'm kind of like playing it by ear. Like I said, on the nights he's not streaming, the nights the main nights, and I'll be doing it on the other ones, and I'll also be doing stuff on my other channel as well. All right, the only 3 outlets I saw with the flash reviews were the Daily Beast, Screen Rant, and Rolling Stone. There was a couple other ones I saw, but it just became the same echo chamber. I'm like, oh, good. I thought it was highly unprofessional making a review all about Ezra John and stuff. Yeah, and listen, you have the right to have an opinion about Ezra Miller's transgression. You have a right to not go see the movie. You want to boycott, do all that. But you're giving me a review. That's like me reviewing American Beauty or reviewing anything that Kevin Spacey was in, reviewing Seven, and not having the coherence to be able to review that movie. And listen, we can have a total separate conversation of what Kevin Spacey is standing accused of. That's a completely different article, but it has nothing to do with my thoughts on the movies he's been in. Right? You can despise Roman Polanski for what what he stood accused of for the last 40 or 50 years. But if you're going to give a review about his work, then review the work. This is an A&E. I'm not tuning in for autobiography. And if you're going to do it that way, then put a disclaimer, like an editorial, say, hey, this is partly review and partly my opinion about the person. Then I have, the word will also be to tune you out or tune you in. Now, some of them did blatantly put it in the title, which I don't know why you would do that, because it takes away the objectivity of what you're supposed to be saying. I learned nothing about the movie, about your opinion of the movie. If I'm using you as a guide to go to the movie, I got nothing. I got your opinion on Ezra Miller, which I don't care about. My relationship with Ezra Miller is on that screen. His jury, if he ever goes into the legal system, whether it be settlement, parole, jury of his peers, that is their job. My relationship with any of these entertainers is on that court, on that field, on that screen. I have faith enough in the legal system that if he's broken laws to the point where he needs to be taken out of society, a jury of his peers or a judge will do that. Until that is done, I have the option of just judging him for the movie. And if you are a film reviewer, then that is your obligation. So that goes for anybody, by the way. That goes for anybody. You all have the right to have your opinions about Ezra Miller, but don't kind of roll it up into what's supposed to be a review. What the hell is that? And then put it in the title. I did listen, So now, how do I know from reading these people's reviews if they even went into the movie with an open mind? This is my problem with critics, period. I have a lot of friends that are critics. I go to the movies. We go to these screenings. I sit arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder with critics. But I don't have much use for them anymore simply because we all have a different connection to the movies we see. Case in point, Howard the Duck. I largely consider it one of the worst things ever put into motion. But somewhere, somebody out in America made an emotional connection to that movie. Whether it be who they went with, what they were going through in life, no matter what it was, they made a connection to that movie, and there's no critic's advice that could ever account for that connection to that movie. Critics have different criteria that they go to a movie to go see. Now, if it's like a horror critic or somebody who I know is aligned in my thinking of movie making, and I can trust him, because you're basically, what critics basically telling you where to go spend your money in many cases. That's different. But if it's just a general critic, he's got different criteria that for what makes this movie great experience for him and what I have for me. I'm the one laying down the money. So these Rotten Tomato scores, no matter what, good or bad, because I've seen good Rotten Tomato scores, and I've seen great critics reviews, and I was a fool. I went to go see them based on a lot of that, and ended up being let down, and vice versa. I've seen crappy reviews that critics gave, so I didn't go. Back in my dumber years, I didn't go, and then when I ended up seeing that on a much smaller screen, I ended up feeling, wow, why did I go see this on the big screen? This is great, because I listened to some critics who is not me. And I see on other shows where people say, of course, critics matter. You wouldn't make you're making spend an investment, and where you spend your money and your time, you should have people who know what they're doing giving you advice. That's subjective. We're not talking about a car or something that has commonality. All cars have engines and wheels and take some type of fuel or plug in some. These are common things that, like my plumbing. There's a P-trap and all these. There's certain things that are going to be the same no matter what. How I feel about a movie is going to be mostly up to me, just like music. There's songs I hear that suck, but then when you hear people's explanation about what that song means to them, it's completely different from me. So why am I going to spend my hard-earned cash on some other guy? Most of us, I get to see a lot of free movies, but most of us are paying. They're paying. You're paying $100 for a family based on some critic. It ain't Siskel and Ebert days anymore. And when you see, and it doesn't help when you see some of the reviews that come out that so and so can't the Flash can't outrun Ezra's issues. That's not what I'm going to the movie for. I'm not going to the movie. If I've made the decision to go see The Flash, clearly I don't give a rat's ass about Ezra Miller's issues. If I'm going to the movie, or if I'm even interested up until the point where I'm even looking at your critics' advice, I've crossed the threshold of caring about that. I'm more worried about the quality of the movie, and that's mostly why I would tune into a critic to begin with. So, yeah, it's the same stuff I thought going into the day. I get you, and this is not a Flash specific thing. This is any movie. I think a lot of people's good time has been derailed by what someone else thinks about a movie, and this has been going on for a long time. This is part of the reason why DC is where it is now, because people let dummies whose only issue was just basically in a lot of get to pick a fight, derail their good time. Instead of just going to see, and I hear them years and years now, wow, this is great. When did this come out? Hell, it came out in 2015, 2016. Where were you? Listening to some fool who either sees 7 or 8 movies a week or whatever and has a blanket criteria what he considers to be top notch, or you're listening to some fanboy who, in many cases, didn't even see the movie you're talking about anyway. They sell tickets for you to go buy them and go see it yourself. Good or bad? Somebody tells me something is 95%, especially if it's not an audience score. I had the privilege and ability to sit with the audience and actually ask people what they thought about these movies and talk to them what they thought about these movies. I'm not just looking at these little emblems up on the screen. So I got a slight advantage. But at the same time, every man, woman who's buying tickets for their family has an advantage too. It's called common sense. Choose who you listen to. Because if you look by today's examples, what standard are they setting? Should you listen to anybody who came out with any of these idiotic reviews today? Based on things that had nothing to do with the movie? Where's their credibility for you now? They're no more credible than the person sitting next to you at the very same movie who's not even paid to be a critic. So, yeah, it's the same old stuff. Hi, Ray, what's going on? Yeah, it was a stupid review, not reviewing. Yeah, I mean, come on. Like I said, I'll read your article about Ezra Miller and make my determination on whether I agree with that or not. Don't try to backhand me by putting it in a movie review. And this is not just a Flash thing when it comes to Rolling Stone. I've been consistent when it comes to certain outlets. And all you have to do is read them. You read their text and you see where these things are going. There are certain like just keywords in any of these things that you just probably need to stop reading and move on to something else. And they were there today. They didn't even try to hide them today. Usually with Rolling Stone, they do a better job of like kind of like shielding some of this stuff. They didn't care today. The stupidity was right in the title. So I guess they're frustrated that not everybody's boycotting this movie, and which people have a right to do or not to do. If you don't want to go see The Flash based on Ezra Miller's transgression, that is capitalism. That is free market. That is 100% up to you. But as a media outlet, I don't need to hear that from you. So let's see. Honestly, those three reviews should be removed from RT score aggregate. If you're a professional, cannot review a film on its own merits and leave it at the door. You got them. Yeah, you really don't. You really don't. And like I said, that's a good or bad review. Listen, I've heard people, mostly are positive about The Flash, but there are some people who have legitimate issues with the movie. Some of it's CGI, even though I'll hold out on that because I don't know if that's a finished product because of CGI. And some of the story, they had a problem with something. That is 100% legit. And like I said, another thing is I follow a particular critic that's very prevalent in our community, and he's worked for very serious publications, not trades, and he has a he's well reputed. He put out an opinion that he didn't, that he enjoyed the movie, but it wasn't great. He got all kinds of stuff thrown at him, and I was like, what? And this is where we're at when we get to these comic book movies. It's like, damn, a lot of the enjoyment gets sucked out of it because it's either or. If you didn't feel the same way about The Flash that I did, you're a piece of scum. And that's kind of like the magic of it. I sit with people. I can go to the movies with 6 or 7 people, and we all come out with 6 or 7 different opinions. And you know what we do? We talk about those opinions. We don't dismiss their opinions because you're a Snyder cultist or this or that. I mean, I guess you could call me a cultist depending on what kind of goofy, adjective you want to put on me. I love all of his movies when it comes to DC. But I went into this one and I enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed some of the movies in between the Snyder regime and now. Some of them didn't make any money. So to say that because someone has a particular preference in a director or storytelling, that they can't give an honest opinion about their movie, or that their opinion doesn't mean any more than someone else's, I think that's ludicrous. At least this particular person reviewed the movie. He reviewed the movie and not a person. I did not agree with his assessment of the film, but I can 100%, can't even talk now, respect where he's coming from and respect the fact that he gave a concise opinion, didn't agree with it. That's fine. There's no standard for us to be in 100% agreement. We saw the same movie. We came out with different opinions. That happens every day. But so I'm caught between people going after somebody's review that was not to their liking, but that was his opinion, and then the other bonehead who had no plans on giving you a review about the movie. They were probably sitting watching the movie thinking about Ezra and something like that. When I went to the movie, I thought about The Flash. That's what a customer does. I did not come to the movie to think about Ezra or Michael or Ben or anybody else in the movie. I came to see those characters roll out a story, and they did it, in my opinion. So, yeah, I knew as soon as the review embargo it lifted, it was just going to be a shitstorm. And I'm like, dude, these are people, they're not working for your corner store liquor tabloid. These are people that are working and operating in things that are supposed to be reputable, but are not. That are no longer. Yeah, good evening, RJ. Hi, I'm Anthony. Let me get through. William Thought and Haley Steinfeld says she hasn't recorded lines for Beyond the Spider Verse. The film is it'll be. I think it'll be ready. They usually do all that stuff, and then they have them do the ADR. They bring in the people because it's like having a script right in front of you. You know, so I don't see that as being a problem as far as being released. All right, the Flash post credit scenes are weak sauce. No one's seen those yet, so none of us have seen it. Anybody who's telling you that they've seen the post credit scenes, you need to ask them how, because they're not even releasing it to the higher ups outside of Warner Brothers management until 4 days before the movie's been released. So they've been part of nothing anybody's seen. So just dealing with life now myself. My grandma had a stroke. Yeah, how is your grandmother? Oh, by the way, RJ, I'm in Vegas. Ever need somebody to swing by and make sure that they're okay? In that sense, you just message me and let me know. I was watching you on Jarbo the other night, and I came up, but I wasn't watching live, so I couldn't respond to you. But I mean, if they're in Vegas, I'm in Vegas. Let me know, dude, because yeah, that's a lot of stress to have to be worrying about that. I'm headed to too many games later this week. Hey, Ray, are you going to Comic-Con? Is anybody here going to Comic-Con? I might be going this year. In fact, I have the option to go. I'm just trying to make the decision what day I should go. Forrest, what's going on? I hope you're doing well. Awesome career. It's been a tough few days. Yep. Yeah, I hope everything gets better with your grandparents. Hope, you know. William thought on Christopher Nolan reveals he wrote the entire script of Empire in first person. I don't know if anybody's done that. I don't know if anybody's done that before either. Well, do you think even with the directors signing their contract with the producers, they might pull off a solidarity strike? Well, if they sign a contract, then they can't strike. Then they can get sued. That's a breach of contract. But if SAG strikes, then it doesn't. That's 2/3 of the triad there. So they're gonna have. They won't have complete leverage, but they'll have the majority. So if SAG after strikes and then the writers don't strike, you can still expedite this. So I haven't updated myself on this strike situation. I have to watch Spider-Verse this weekend. My kids want to see it. They're not too old to be orphans yet. Spider-Verse is I loved it. I loved it, and I got to listen. I was listening to some of the songs on it because that's one of the only bad thing about it is just some really kick-ass music, and the plot for me I was so drawn into the plot. I didn't realize how good this music really was. And there's some songs on there that are just like you just roll them up and down. I really enjoyed this movie. This is going to be one of those movies that no matter I'm going to see it again and again, and I'm going to see more of it that I missed the first 2 or 3 times, and I'm going to love it each time more every time I see it. So. Yeah, RJ, hope your grandparents. Yeah, man. I mean, seriously. Let me know if there's anything I can do here in Vegas for you. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. She's going to be in the hospital for the next 2 weeks in rehab. And Grandpa is all alone now recovering because the rest of us close immediate family is in Germany, where I was born, by the way. RJ, hit me up. Message me. You know where to message me. You have all my contact info. I don't mind swinging by either of these places. So that's the last thing you want people to feel. I mean, Germany's thousands of miles away. So let me know. All right. So, if you're on the same here. How you doing, Alastair? All right. Well, if Thought of Transformer Rise of the Beast Herd, he holds at 57. I sent people to see it last night, and I still have some cool stuff to get. I have air fresheners and a tape thing to give away. There's something in there, and it's the one thing I really, 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 really was hinging on that didn't go the way I needed to go, and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but that doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me at all. All right. Yep. Critics are just delusional sometimes. And that's not funny, but I legitimately saw them reviewing the Transformer movie and said there wasn't enough human story. And I'm like, yeah, I can't put the robot. And like I said, that's a legitimate review. I don't agree with that review. I think it's a boneheaded assessment, but that they're reviewing it on the hallmarks and the pillars of the movie, it's the film itself. You're not hearing them say, you know what, I think Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime, is a prick. He got pulled over for a DUI. I don't think I'm going to see. I don't care about your opinion about those people. And this is not the outlet. So, yeah, I mean, this is something about Godzilla. Listen, the humans in monster movies and horror movies are there to die. That is the purpose of the human element in those type of movies, is to get torn apart. And to do it on a scale of 1 to 10 where I can enjoy it. All right, I hear Barry loses his suit and somehow Woman takes it and won't give it back to him unless he fights her for it. Barry screws up and takes her down the throat while Keith watches. Anybody enjoy that part? Most people. See, if you were to say that to the general audience, they'd give you a cross-eyed look. What are you talking about? You know, that only works on the internet. Without going into spoilers, I'm getting an impression from reactions of Flash and alternate timelines is now far more relevant to DC post-Flash. Yes, it is. And I can't believe that James Gunn is not going to look at that and utilize that for his universe. And if he does, he can go for it. I'm looking forward to his stuff. But you could do it. He could do it all. And that's what I really want DC to do, and they haven't done it in their existence on motion pictures. They've done it in their comics. Do it all. Be organized. Be fluid. And make good decisions. I don't need to have a singular DC universe. It's kind of boring. I need them to take off the old Hollywood goggles and try something new. And hey, you know what? If it had a history of failure, I could understand. But we don't have a history of even trying. The company that created the multiverse, the company that created alternate timelines as far as comic book storytelling goes, doesn't even use it correctly. And Marvel did not beat them to that, because what it means to DC as far as alternate universes and things like that is different than what it's going to mean to Marvel. There are some similarities, but not enough to where if you did it right in DC, it would be a distinct tool in your toolbox that would be very useful. That's just me. I remember critics saying the same thing about Godzilla King of the Monsters in 2019. Yeah. I want human death and destruction. In fact, well, I hate critics. I go see every movie no matter what. Yeah, and like I said, I don't hate you critics personally. I just no longer regard your opinion as high as I used to growing up, because I realize I have robbed myself by listening to someone else's opinion about whether I want to see a movie or not. And trust me, there are some movies you need to see in the movies. And if I listen to some of the critics and just don't go see them, then now here I am watching it on my much smaller screen instead of that surround Dolby sound that makes a movie great. I have regretted so many times listening to critics or anybody else, taking someone else's word for it. And like I said, it was campy. And I usually bring up other YouTubers. Campy was telling me just the importance of critics. And I'm like I said, if I'm getting an opinion on how to get my car fixed or what kind of car to get, that's different, because we're talking about commonality. But movies are different. Songs are different. How it makes you feel is going to be paramount to what anybody's opinion is. I could go out and tell you Flash was the greatest movie of all time. It's not going to mean jack shit to you if it doesn't stick with you. If you don't walk out of that feeling with the buzz that I feel, that's going to be different to each individual person. No critic can do that for you. Most of your friends can't even do that for you. You got to do that for you. And if it were free, yeah, if Rotten Tomatoes was paying for me to see it, okay, you're lessening my risk, but it's still my time. It's still my 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm not saying that everybody has to completely flush away to critics and RT and all these other things. All I'm saying is start using more of your interpretation of what's going on. As opposed to using them as the end all be all, because I think that's what it's become. Their opinions and the opinions of these trades have become gospel where it does not qualify to be gospel. All right, Iggy, William Powell, every critic's targeted Ezra Miller and Tomato are going to make more people not go to see the movie. And you know what? That's a possibility. I hope people are smarter than that. I hope people are smarter than that. But when you have these reputable outlets telling you things and you've been conditioned your entire life that these outlets are credible, now they're doing stuff like that. That muddies the waters. I hope people are smarter than that. It's true. Darkseid shows up in a Boom 2 minutes film. I hear you see Darkseid looking through Earth. I'm not going to answer any spoiler questions, even if they're ridiculous ones like that. All right, it reminds me of when Hogwarts Legacy came out and some game reviewers spent 90% of the game review writing about J.K. Rowling drama and why you shouldn't go buy the game. Yeah, you can have an opinion about her, but that's a different article. All right, I didn't care about what critics or general audience thought about The Green Knight. Went in not knowing what to expect. Love the film. Yep, there you go. How are you, Aaron? Oh yeah. I need to focus more on that. I've just, like I said, now Enoch's coming back, I am going to start focusing on my channel. I mean, I'm still going to do stuff for the lounge, obviously, but it's a little bit different than where we're just trying to keep the main shows going on here, and then trying to get the stuff going on the Sci-Fi Center to distinguish it between the two. So yeah, and I got a lot of short content that I need to put on there. But thank you, Ray. Yeah, you can like and subscribe to Poindexter Lounge, which you're currently watching on, most of you. And for those of you who are watching on youtube.com/at the Sci-Fi Center, like and subscribe there as well. Like I said, we're on pace to be 78 years old by the time I get monetized. Woo-hoo. All right, Rotten Tomatoes is irrelevant. Just go see the movie and make up your own mind. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just don't understand. And even on the critic score, I see some critics score that it's an individual thing, and I think there was a point in my life to where I just went along with that. But now that I've taken a little more risk and I have access to more movies, I'm like, dude, if I'd have listened to what everybody said about this, I would not have seen this movie when I needed to see this movie. I would have lost out on my moment that made that movie special because of what someone else said. All right, that critic is going on to another movie. You're living that moment, so you got to make your decisions based on that. The only good consistent trade I really like is Hollywood Reporter. Sadly, Variety has gotten quite poor over the past few months, and Deadline is just okay. Yeah, it's just and at one time, every one of these were you couldn't do what they did today. You got fired for that stuff. If you weren't seen, portrayed as being an objective person, worthy of news content, your editors came down on your ass. Because it was there. Everybody's reputation was on the line. And if you were going to do an editorial in one of these trades, it was clear as day that it was an editorial. And they made sure that when you gave your reviews, you gave your review. And if they will give you space for you to have your opinion about whatever, and they would clearly label it. But because of the internet, because of social media, some of these guys have lost their standards because they're having to compete with the passion that is created on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Passion was not their game, but they need to stay relevant in the passion game, or they feel that they're going to lose users and subscribers. And it makes her a bad product now. No, I forgot. I don't even want to bring it. It wasn't Stephen Colbert. I don't want to bring their name up here because I don't, be honest with you, as much as I disagree with that person's conduct, I don't want people dogpiling on them because I don't think that helps either. Nah. God, RJ's not a yes man wonder. A long time no see, you do suck. Rolling Stone mag should keep writing about music. Same with Forbes mag should keep writing about finance and economics. or when they write about the things that are entertainment, because that's a part of it, be objective, or tell me it's an editorial and give me the opportunity to tune in or tune out on what you're saying. Or even if I don't agree with you, doesn't mean I'm not going to read your editorial, but I need what my problem is you're prefacing it as news. You're prefacing it as gospel, and people are conditioned to listen to you because of your reputation. I don't mind them doing these other things, but they just got to do them right and do them well and do them professionally. Yeah, and you'll need to get you a red shirt with a glow in the dark Shazam logo on it too. Hal Jordan, what's going on? Yeah, let me know if you go, man. We should hook up because, like I said, I don't go often anymore. But with the writer strike and everything else, I might actually be able to move around the building on a Saturday. Woohoo. William, I was hoping to join for Comic Con Possible. Happy to help with any table stuff there. I'm actually going to be going with Trauma. Yeah, they got one spot for me. They need help there, so I'm going to be working their table a little bit, and then I'm going to be enjoying the convention at the same time. I just got to see how many days I go. Are you going for sure, Ra? If so, I'll see you down there. She's doing okay. I think she's in Spring Valley right now, being monitored for the next 2 weeks and doing rehab. Grandpa went to the ER, but he's at home now. All right. William, thought on Sasha Calle continuing to play Supergirl? I don't know. I want her to portray a Supergirl in some ways, especially the version I got a glimpse to see in the Flash. But that doesn't mean that I don't think it would be a disaster if James Gunn cast one that fits his storytelling. I don't think it has to be either or. I'm interested in World of Tomorrow. If he decides to use Sasha Calle as his Supergirl, I'm all for it. If he decides not to, that doesn't. I mean, we can't do something with her if her reception is good. That's what I mean by it doesn't have to be just not an ultimate answer there. All right, she said, I think that the Flash was really a runaway to a bigger story for her. Supergirl, one of them in Toronto. Tom King is an incredible comment. I love it. I think it's cool. Hey, man, I would love to see her in it. I'll take more of that character any way I can get it. There you go. Yeah. Whenever you get elderly people who fall and have strokes, it's always it's like you're on a knife's edge. So I'm glad everybody is alive and well. Avoiding spoilers, but I get the impression from a lot of Flash reacts, including yours, that alternate timeline is suddenly become extremely relevant. Yeah. I would have to agree with him. William, thoughts on Thor star Anthony Hopkins calls his MCU role as though pointless acting. I think Thor in general, the 4 movies are pointless acting and waste the talents of a lot of great actors. I've always thought this. I've been consistent in my thinking of the Thor movies. I think the Thor movies are some of the worst that the MCU has to offer. Now, it's not saying I hate the Thor character, because when he's with the right people lined up, that's an excellent character to watch, very entertaining character to watch. But his own movies are a complete waste of time for me. And I can see where he's coming from, especially an actor of that level. I'm surprised he took those roles. Also, someone from Discord hires me to voice Wong in a fan-made Marvel project he's doing, and also hired another friend of mine. Oh, that's cool. Good start now. He also said they put me in armor, they shoved a beard on me, sit on the throne, shot a bit. If you're going to be in front of a green screen, it's pointless acting. Yes. I've heard good things about Transformers. I've definitely seen this weekend. It may not be as good as Bumblebee, but if it's even slightly better than the Michael Bay movies, I'll be very happy. The Michael Bay movies, the first one was a great movie. I kind of tailed off that. Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. It's like, dude, I have made the decision at this point in the Ezra game to where I'm going as a consumer, and most consumers have, one way or another. Review the movie. That's the only unknown to us right now. What do you think of the movie? So there you go. William Killian Murphy says, audience to see Oppenheimer on the biggest screen possible. There are moments that will blow people's minds off. I plan on seeing it in IMAX, but we're going to promote it later on. So we'll probably, I think it's only going to be shown to us in IMAX. I'll let you know if I agree with that. Well, I thought on both Rebel Moon films we received two different cuts, one for families and one for adults. That's good. Whatever you got to make do to put it in front of as many people as possible. That's a good movie or a good move. If you think you have something that might not be suitable for families, and you still have the ability to make that. Like I'm going to be the one that wants to see the stuff, the hardcore stuff. But it's business, and that's good. That's a good move for Netflix to make sure that that's available. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. If I was directing Aquaman, I'm like, dude, just take your shirt off. It doesn't matter what the story is. The milfs are going to be there. With the Rise of the Beast coming closer to release this week, if there's one thing I'm curious about, is the Predacons will get a name drop because of Scorpion not going to Rise of the Beast storyline. Maybe. And Beast Wars. I listen. Beast Wars stuff. That's where I finally had tapped out of the whole Transformer storyline back in the 80s and 90s. That's when they started turning into animals. I'm like, well, I mean, they've always had animals like the Predacons and all that, but there wasn't the Beast Wars with the gorillas and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I'm done. Right after the Headmasters. William thought on Across the Spider-Verse earns 13 million domestically on Monday. Worldwide is not 20. When you see the movie, you understand why. In my opinion, it's the best Spider-Man story being told. For me, I'd be messing around today at the store. Number one is Across the Spider-Verse, and obviously we got to wait till the second part comes out to where we put that. For me, it's Across the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, No Way Home, and then after that I had a couple of them mixed up. But I know the bottom one was Spider-Man 3. And then I filled them in under that, But the first four movies are all ones that were released prior to, and then the cartoons. I've also seen a lot of reactions to the Flash comparing it to Black to the Future. Would you say that's a good time travel movie to compare it to, or would you? I don't want to spoil it because that's an actual factor in the way the movie works. That's a big part of the plot. The way time travel is explained is not only a big part of the plot of the movie, in my opinion, but if anybody going forwards with any DC project, including James Gunn, wanted to explain or do something, they could use the explanation in this movie and it would be completely justified. So I don't want to give that up yet until you've actually seen it. Yes, I did. It looked like, dude, I saw the one suit, the guy, that guy looks like a Nazi. You already hate the guy already. I love that color scheme. I saw some of the landscape. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Rebel Moon. I hope to, as we get closer to December, I'm going to start talking more and more about Rebel Moon, and not just the visual stuff, but the story dynamic and everything else, because I really love the stuff that inspires Rebel Moon. Slipknot. William, do you think that Thor and Incredible Hulk Returns 1988? Well, I watched that, dude. I was so excited for that. I watched that live. That was on Monday. And I remember, this was 1988. This is all we had. You damn kids can laugh now because you got all this CGI and all that. We had Lou Ferrigno painted green, the great big spill bean, may he rest in peace, and Thor with like a fur coat and a goofy looking helmet. That's what we had. And you know what? We were damn excited for it. Jumped up and down for it. I look back on it now, I'm like, oh my goodness, thank you for everything we have now. But no, it was not a good interpretation of Thor. Looking back on it now, it was an absolutely abysmal interpretation of Thor. Chris Hemsworth, it works for it's not an accurate portrayal of Thor in the least. The Thor that's in the movies is not the Thor that you read in the comics, but that's fine. They've made a Thor that fits their movies, and that's fine. But no, the one, wow, dude, I remember and just when it was coming out and reading in all the magazines and seeing little pictures and just waiting for it to come out, it was like, wow, this is what we're finally going to get Thor on the screen. We're going to get, And when I saw it, I loved it. And now I look back, grown ass me looks back on that, and I'm like, wow, it took so little for us to be entertained back in 1988. So you're going with Trauma. No, we can hook up down there, dude. We can hook up. It's just a pain in the ass for me to get in through my distribution means because I no longer use one particular person to get all my stuff through. So usually you just got it with them. But two, I didn't even know if I wanted to go because a lot of the stuff that they do at Comic Con, I just don't. But with the writer strike happening, it's going to be a lot thinner. And two, I need to make some contacts. I need to get to these conventions and start getting business cards, handing out my business cards, and start making some connections with people to get some cool stuff in. And a lot of times, these major conventions, WonderCon, Comic Con, depending on where you're amazing when it's out here. These are the places where you can meet and get connections with people and get your social media down so that when I'm looking for certain items, because right now my sources for getting cool stuff is not what I want it to be. And I need to go down to Comic Con and meet a lot of the vendors down there, get some wholesaler discounts, meet people and get their price points. There's a lot of business I got to do down there. And I don't go often enough to make the kind of connections I need. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going this year. Give me a pass for Comic Con to be the busboy to help you with your booth and the stand. Maybe I'll go. Yeah, I'm going to be the guy helping them. Yeah, I only got the one spot. I'm sorry. And that was because it was offered to me. Well, actually, it was offered to me years ago, and I didn't accept. But this year, this is the year I probably need to go. I think since Gunn has publicly supported the Flash film and promoted it, it stands to reason it's a good sign if it succeeds. It'll keep some aspects. And to be honest with you, I'm good with it. I'm good with it. And like I said, I'm looking forward to what he's laid out. I mean, the Supergirl thing is intriguing me. The Paradise Lost thing really intrigues me. The Superman legacy, I got to see it because I'm particular when it comes to Superman, but I'm open minded to it. The Batman Brave and the Bold, if he gets Michighetti to do it, I'm not as the biggest fan of that storyline coming to life in a feature film. But if it's Michighetti, I'm in. I'm in. My mind is open to what James Gunn's want to do. I would like for him to consider some of the stuff that's past. But if he doesn't, if he says, nope, I got my own thing going on, and if he just leaves that for someone else to do, or he executive produces his things and makes a clear delineation between what we're doing, I think there's money just being left on the table. So I'm all for it. And like I said, he loved the movie. He loved The Flash. And he's still in his development thought. And we got some time now when it comes to Superman Legacy getting released. If these guys go on strike, SAG-AFTRA, we ain't getting Legacy in 2025 because it was already July or September 2025. That's the 7th month or 9th month in the year right there. We're already being delayed. How long does the strike go on? So we're talking 2026. So I got a lot. That's why I'm intrigued about what Gunn is doing, but I'm not as excited about it because it's hard for me to get excited for something that's potentially 3 years away. So cool. Yeah, we need to get together, man, because places to stay in San Diego, and I don't want to go all the way to the Pacific Fleet, because I know they're going to be packed. So if you're going, I'll get with you offline, man. Sasha, and until somebody tells me definitively, I can see Ezra. I don't see Michael Keaton doing it anymore. I think this is was it for him, but who knows? Ben Affleck, I could see somewhere down the line if Elseworlds is established, giving him one send-off movie or something like that. I could see it. Like I said, the way this movie unravels, there's so many things that are possible. Now, I'm not one of these guys that says if they got the chance to resolve what Zack Snyder was working on, I'm not a Justice League 2, 3, and Superman is still 1, 2, and 3, and let's continue it forever. No, because even Zack wasn't going to do that. But what I do think, and the one thing that I do think runs the risk of hurting the Flash, is the lack of continuity and the gaps and the pure fragmentation of the storyline that leads into this. There's nothing relevant that was completed that leads you into the Flash. And that matters sometimes. I'm hoping it doesn't matter to the point where it will hurt the film. But if there's anything I think that would hurt the movie, I don't think it's the Ezra stuff. You know, the crappy reviews might hurt it, who knows. But I think the Paramount thing is that this is the first event level movie for DC we've had in almost 6 years. And it's the Flash. We have to temper our expectations. The Flash is not the Trinity. The Flash is down the line. He's not, you know, when you think of the Flash in the part of, in regards to your attraction, Batman, the reason why Batman was put into the movie, the Batman are put into the movie is because it makes it easier to sell a Flash character, just like the comics. You know, the Flash's cells in the 50s and 60s were tied with his association with the Trinity. That's what helped get his comic off the ground, even beyond the showcase years. Even though he's a founding member of the Justice League, he's not the top tier of that founding part. So putting Batman in the movies worked for him. But we also have to realize that we're dealing with the mismanagement of the past 6 years where we got a bunch of no-name and throwaway characters and characters that no one knew. And now we're getting, instead of getting those top tiers, instead of getting that Batman movie, instead of getting that Superman movie, we're getting the guy that's down the bench. So that you're going right to the bench player before you even got the starters out of the way. That could hurt the Flash. So I just think that the continuity the circle needs to be closed. I don't think if you don't close these things and you don't resolve these things, it hurts everything you do forward. No matter who's doing it, everything you do, you're asking someone to give you new money when all they got to do is turn their head to the left and see what you've already done with their old money, and they're not going to trust you. And I hope that's not the case with the Flash, but I really do hope that Gunn or whoever's in charge does take a look at that real estate and just ties it up, or leaves it for someone else to do. That's cool. Never believe what people say in Hollywood. That's true. Even Hollywood people tell you that. I was really surprised to see Chris Hemsworth come out and basically crap all over Thor 4. Talked about how his kids and friends hated it, how he thought they went too silly, and how Ant-Man 3 sucked. He's right. I mean, Ant-Man 3 didn't suck. It was just not, it was disappointing on a narrative level, but he's right about the Thor movies. He's right about Thor 4. He's definitely right about Thor 4. Thor Love and Thunder was an absolutely horrendous movie, in my opinion. Visually stunning, star-studded, but it was stupid. And to be honest with you, if you look objectively at every single MCU movie that's been released since 2008, nobody's going to want to do this, but that's up to them. Just over half of them are any good. For every Civil War, there was a Dark World. All right, for every Iron Man, there was an Iron Man 2. For every Winter Soldier, there was an Eternals. And then the Thor movies, you can bounce those off of any trajectory you want to. Nobody said it because everybody was on that wave. You know, that collective mentality that all these movies are great, when that wasn't true. That's why I don't rush to the theaters to see MCU movies anymore. You know, I got Disney Plus. Because in my opinion, and I've made my judgment, that very few of them are worth the immediate get my money out of my pocket and go. Especially now that we've moved past Iron Man, Captain America, you know, those driving forces, and we're taking a little bit more time. So Chris Hemsworth is saying, to be honest with you, what I've been looking at for 13, 14 years now. It's a toss-up whether any of these movies are going to be any good or not. And when they're good, they're great. Don't get me wrong. But when they're not good, you've invested time and money on something that now I can see on streaming. William, thought on a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series set in the same universe as Mutant Mayhem. No opinion right now. Sorry, man. I got to learn a bit more about what's coming up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've been out of the TMT loop for a long, long time. Because him was smart to do so. It makes him relatable to his audience who wondered how it got so bad. But then, like I said, if that audience looks back on the stuff that they went gaga over since 2008, there's some great stuff in there. Don't get me wrong, but there's some really bad stuff in there too, and some mediocre stuff that fans gave a pass to. So they just kept that momentum going. And now that you've lost a lot of the major players, you're a little bit more stringent in your opinion and your money, and now you have what you have now. Thor 1 was made under Paramount. Incredible Hulk was made under Universal. Once these characters were under Disney, they've been horrible, sad. Yeah. I haven't seen Marvel actors come out against the franchise they're currently acting for a while. Times Marvel Studio did. Well, yeah, and like I said, I think people, when you were on the Infinity Saga wave, it just appeared that Marvel could do no wrong, even though they did a lot of wrong. But when you're not on that wave, it's like I say, winning cures everything. When you're putting out mediocrity, everybody looks at everything differently now. What's the last good MCU movie that MCU attached movie I saw? I think it's going to be No Way Home. Because I liked Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, but I thought they made mistakes in that movie. Obviously, we've gone over that before. And I just didn't think the movie was as good as the first one. Black Panther, Wakanda, whatever, is a good movie. Black Panther, the original one, was an epic movie. But I think the last epic movie I saw was No Way Home. And No Way Home had so much going for it, though, that most regular normal movies don't have going for it. But, and like I said, it's, so it's been quite a while. When did we see it? In 2021 was when we saw No Way Home, right, RJ? You were here with me. I haven't seen that level of Marvel movie since then. I know it's a high standard, but they haven't even approached that. Unless, you're talking about, Spider-Verse. Disney haters reached an all-time peak with the layoffs, streaming disaster, Little Mermaid controversy, and the right political debates with DeSantis in Florida. Disney is going to the ringer. The DeSantis stuff, I think they'll be just fine with, because even with all the stuff that's going, the right stuff is that. By the way, Disney's not a left-wing organization. Disney's one of the most conservative organizations you could be part of. I think DeSantis looks worse for wear on that one than Disney does, but the layoffs hurt. The streaming content not being, the Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian season 3. See, here's the thing: when they're putting out quality stuff, all this stuff doesn't get looked at as much. But when you're putting out mediocre stuff, that's where people start to look at, things a little bit closer. When Mandalorian first came out and it was great, when they're putting out their best stuff, a lot of this stuff, doesn't even factor in. But it's a lot of it's just quality, man. A lot of it is quality. Scarlett Johansson came out against her partner Iron Man 2 as well. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it is. All right, we're at an hour. I'm sick of Hemsworth. He changes his mind about Thor every day. He was the one who was sticking with Thor 2 and wanted to change the tone of the movie. Well, Thor 2 was awful, by the way. Love or hate Joss Whedon. He was right when he said, once you go political, you divide your audience in half. Yeah, but here's in Disney's defense, though. They cater to all levels and all aspects of the general public. Under no circumstances can they, and they are the largest employer in the state of Florida. In my opinion, no matter who the CEO was at the time, you had to stand up for inclusion, because otherwise you're saying a certain segment of your audience isn't welcome in a state where you employ more people than any other business. His response to it was inappropriate. regardless of how you feel on the issues that they're going. And this is why it's going to end up in court, and Disney's going to flatten him in court. Is the response? See, opinions are one thing. How you handle the discourse is another thing. He didn't handle it very well. Now he's getting sued, and Disney's legal department is probably the second biggest employer in Florida, so he's not going to win that battle. Since Scourge is part of the reboot Transformers universe, do you think it's possible? It's like, I don't know if this is a reboot universe. I haven't seen the movie yet. William thought on Christopher Nolan explains why he didn't use CGI. I did not. Of course, you're going to tell me. I find CGI rarely is able to grab you. It tends to feel safe. Even if it's impressive and beautiful, it's difficult to make you feel danger. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I can respect that. If I have one complaint about Rebel Moon from the picture, it looks very monochromatic brown, which is what turned me off about Dune. It's boring to the eyes for me. To me, that's what I liked about Dune because it was Dune. But I got to see post effects though to be able to give you, a bigger, better opinion. I hope MCU gets back on track with Guardians 3, Secret Invasion. I've been looking forward to Secret Invasion. Echo, everything I've heard about Echo is a disaster, but I watch it. I loved Loki. Loki was one of my favorite things that they did. And they need to be operating on all cylinders with Captain America 4, which I'm definitely looking for. Agatha, I'm going to pass on. Ironheart, I'm going to pass on. Deadpool 3, I have absolutely no use for. You guys enjoy Deadpool. I cannot stand the character of Deadpool. I have never paid one theater dollar to see any of the Deadpool movies, even though I've sent tons of people to them promo-wise. And guess what? I'm going to be sitting on my couch if I watch Deadpool 3. I cannot stand that character. All right, Red Summer Rebel Moon has 2 cuts, one for kid. Yeah. That's we addressed that one. Yep. Guess which one I'm gonna be watching. Maybe superhero movies were just meant to have an era and be over. I feel DC will never get back on track. I don't know because, like I said, the stuff that happened with DC was self-inflicted. That was mismanagement. I mean, they've shown that when you put a good comic book movie out there, the people will go see it. It's quality. It's not quantity. It's not an error for me. It's quality. DC put out bad movies with IPs no one knew or cared about for the past 5 to 6 years and mismanaged their major IPs. Had they been managing all their IPs like they're managing The Flash right now, we would be in a different place. So I don't think it's fatigue. I don't think it's necessarily an era. I just think you just need better management to exploit these IPs. I love MCU, but they're going through a very weird period right now. I think streaming is killing the MCU and Hollywood at large. Disney Plus was a mistake. See, I sort of agree, but I sort of disagree. I think the mismanagement of the streaming era is killing Hollywood. Because remember, these guys own studios too. And I think I think Disney Plus mismanagement, and one another again, not having a full stream and planned out coordinated content so that you have something decent going through all the time. And I think a lot of the streamers going to that, but I think a lot of it is growing pains as well. But I think streaming is the future. Whether it kills Hollywood or not, it's going to be up to the studios and the theaters to make that experience something you cannot get. If you want to keep something alive, then you put something on that thing that you can't get anywhere else. It's like a football stadium is never going to shut down, right? Because that live experience is something you can't get on TV. So that's what the theaters are going to have to do. Yeah, this is perfect time. Unfortunately, we got 3 years to wait for that next thing, which is why it's so unfortunate that so much of the current stuff that was already there has been so mismanaged, or we could be using that as a wave to go into the next thing. But there you go. Oh yeah. Oh, dude, the Daredevil one, the ninja thing with the closed eyes. Oh my! And I thought that was great. Wasn't even red. Didn't have a DD on his shirt. That it was horrible. But in 1988, it was like that's what we had, man. And we were like, we loved it. We had to take what we could get back then, but Daredevil and the Trial of the Incredible Hulk really ended up having a lot of impact on the future with the Black Ninja. That's actually true, but man, oh my goodness. We should do a rewatch of those things since they're on free TV. William thought of Madam Web will be an origin story. It confirms Producer, that makes sense. I don't think you should just throw Madam Web in there. And Madam Web is a very intriguing character, and I know you guys got a lot of criticism of the way Sony has handled their non-Miles Morales stuff. I think I see what they're doing. I see where they're going, and her being a part of it really, I have to wait and see. But yeah, you're gonna need to know the origin of this particular Madam Web in order to understand what they're doing. So yeah, that's right. You meet her before she's actually the person that you know in the comic book. You come to understand how she becomes that person. And yeah, and I think that everything they're doing is thoroughly connected to that as well. DCUs can basically become the new Cool Kingdom Town Legacy, and the DCU projects 25, 26 are bangers. Not just that, but to be honest with you, they need to attack on, like I said, over and over again. It can't just be what James Gunn's doing. No matter how good James Gunn stuff is, it can't be just what he's doing. There has to be other roads to go down to keep people engaged over the course of time, and to give people DC could give people, comic book fans, something on a regular basis that no other comic book company can do. It is in their DNA to do it. So if it's just based on what Gunn is going to put out, no, I don't think they have very much of a chance. But if they integrate it with different things in different pathways and please different demographics in different generations at the same time, then that's where the money is. But if it's just based on what James Gunn's doing, nah, it's too far away, almost 3 years, and you just I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's enough over the course of time. He's doing it, but we'll have to see. But I would like to do. It's like having a battleship and just firing one cannon when you got 20 of them. Concentrate your efforts, but diversify your efforts. Thor was awesome in Infinity Wars. That's the last time I enjoyed the Betrayal since it's been Harissa. Same thing with Hulk. Yeah. They was wow. Yeah, I agree 100%. The idea of a shared universe exciting anymore? Yes. Imagine if Universal said they were going to try again. How hyped would you be? That's different. What Universal was doing, those stories. To be honest with you, that was hard for them to even conceive because those characters don't necessarily have the notoriety from being together. Comic book characters are designed to be told in a shared universe. That's by design. Immediately after one superhero was created, another one was created, and those creations were with each other for decades and decades and decades. That's why you have the shared universe is comic book storytelling. If you want to make any type, they would have done it before. If it weren't for the fact that we didn't have the technical wherewithal to do it, we would have had shared universes back in Christopher Reeves and in Michael Keaton's era. We didn't have it. It was just so hard just to get one of those movies made. But trust me, if they had the ability to make a shared universe back in that era, they would have. They just didn't. But it is much shared universe is as much a part of comic book storytelling as the pages are. At this point, I prefer Gunn just do a chili of Justice League and just bow out. That's not going to happen. That'd be just like setting money on fire. Why would you do that? Do you think the studios will make any big announcements at Comic-Con in July, like Marvel said, update on Superman Legacy casting and WB Gunn? Or if SAG, no. Because I would think that they would want those people on there. Like, so say if you make a Fantastic Four announcement, you're going to want, just like when they did Loki and he came out with the horns, they're going to want those people there. And if SAG is on strike, then no, they're not going to have them there. So I don't know. Listen, I hope for the betterment of all my entertainment that the SAG thing and this DGA thing gets, or the WGA thing gets settled, because it's not good for any of us. The only positive about it is that if it is going on Comic-Con, I'll be able to move around Hall H without getting stepped on and pushed around by sweaty individuals. Yep. Perfect for a geek like me to go in and do, hold on, wait. I know this is going to be unheard of. Do comic book things at a Comic-Con. The term comic book at Comic Con has become Alien, especially on Saturday, especially because of Hall H. So this is the 1 year I can sneak in and actually do comic book things again. Even if it just returns back to being normal, I'm going to take my shot this year. Depends on the gun can make it exciting, fresh, forth. Yeah, it's all seeing what's inside his head. I'm guessing Gunn will walk if he delays taking passes. Not necessarily because they can renegotiate his contract. It does not necessarily. You can hang on. I doubt it. It's a contract. Yeah, the company will want something from him to come out. They want what they're getting paid for, even if it's a 3 to 5 project. And I think he wants to do this. That's what I do like about this guy. He wants to do it. Even if I'm not on board with everything that he puts out, he wants to do it. He's at a creative level of passion is where I am as far as a collector goes. So I don't think he'll walk away. I think he wants to do this stuff. William, I remember when Ava DuVernay lost her job in the New Gods movie and went around blaming Snyder for it. I don't know. I forgot what the quotes were at, but I never got the impression that she blamed him for it. But I don't think he would have had a problem. He doesn't seem to have a problem working with anybody as far as that go. I mean, obviously Warner Brothers management, but I never felt that heat. But fourth, whenever you have contracts like that, there are caveats and stuff put in the contract that allow for strikes and stuff to be made up time. So if there's probably things in for his own benefit too, because his pay and all that. It's not. There's contingencies written into the contract usually when you have situations like this. If there's a work stoppage, there's a time stoppage. So that's a lot of those contracts already have it. William, Justice League Dark, truly cursed property at this point, as it should be. Get Justice League going before you get to second and third tier versions of the team. The film was in development hell. It should have never been greenlit in a decade now, passing of visionaries like Del Toro, Doug Liman. Once again, the biggest you can't. The biggest problem is that it exists right now. It shouldn't. You need to establish your bedrock and then get to Justice League Dark. But how are you gonna your Justice League and your Trinity are in shambles? How are you gonna go to the derivative versions of these groups without you want to tap dance on thin ice is what you want to do. Get some more ice under you so you can ice skate. J.J. Abrams failed to bring a small queen. No, the management failed. Remember, J.J. Abrams was working for somebody. He was being paid by somebody, and those are the people you need to blame. But they could extend it because of the writer's strike, like when a wrestler gets injured and they add missed time to already sign contract. Yeah, Kenny Omega is a prime example. Kenny Omega, his contract actually was going to end sooner, but he was out for so long, he literally had like 8 months. And to be honest with you, that's actually good for both parties involved. William Alleged. Oh, wow, this expects has gone on long, but I'm going to try to get to all the questions before I go. William Alleged original Black Adam plot with Hawkgirl and Shazam before the changes were made. The JSA were going to be Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Cyclone, and Adam Smasher for Dr. Fate. Never. That could be true, but I never really heard anything about that. Don't hear much about Black Adam anymore. I remember a lot of reactions saying Thor: Love and Thunder is basically Marvel's Batman and Robin, and I think it's pretty accurate. Yeah, and what made Batman and Robin so disappointing is Batman Forever is one of my favorite Batman movies, period. I love that movie. I love that soundtrack. I love Batman Forever. I love the Riddler. Jim Carrey is the Riddler. Tommy Lee Jones is Two-Face. They were great in that movie. That movie was great. I remember the merchandising. That was a fun movie to be a part of. And then those same people delivered Batman and Robin, which was a bad movie. So that was so disappointing. Oh, yeah, there's not beholden to 4 years. The option to extend is there for 10-year ramp, but I feel like it delays. I think he's found what he wants to do. I think he'll stay. No, I think Wakanda forever. Yeah, December 2021 when we went to go see No Way Home. Last MCU film I saw in the theater was Infinity Wars. It was awesome since then I've all since his projects. Yeah, I mean, Endgame, but I've seen them all, but it's just like, ugh. I don't know. I don't have any thoughts on it. I don't know who the replacement writer is. Christina Hodson, under the right director and under the right creatives, you do a good job. You saw that in the Flash, but if it's depending on, you also see her under bad management, which was Birds of Prey and all that other madness. You hate Deadpool? Yeah, I cannot stand that character. And those Deadpool movies to me are trash. Listen, I understand I'm in a vast minority. That's first of all, I hate the character. Love Laura Bayfield. Thank you for creating some of the best stuff out there in the '90s, but I hate that character. I hate the concept of the character. I hate what it can. And then when he starts with the comedy and the fourth wall in the 2000s, I hated him even more. I can't stand those movies. Not saying that they're of low quality; they are of high quality. I just don't like. That's just not what I want to see in my superhero movie. I don't like the slapstickiness of it. The jokes don't land to me. I just don't like I just not what I want to see in a superhero movie. And like I said, I cannot stand those movies, and I will not pay $1 to see Deadpool in movies. The closest I'll come is if we do a screening for it, But I don't like Deadpool, and I don't like the movies. Um, I don't like. I don't mind humor in my comic book movies. I don't like my comic book movies to be a joke. And my opinion, and I know you guys are probably throwing shit at me right now, Deadpool's a joke, and I'm just not in on the joke. All right. William thought on Cross the Spider Verse future for Lord on Sony and Marvel relationship while making. It's the same as it's been. They have to have a good relation. Believe it, Sony and Marvel do have a really good, relationship. There's a lot of money to be made in there for them, and they used, a lot of stuff, you know, that mutual interest. I just hope that care is given to this relationship so that the stuff Lord and Miller are really good at stays under their control, and the stuff that Marvel MCU has been successful with stays under their control, because it took them a long while to get Spider-Man right. I had fun with the two previous Spider-Man movies, you know, but I thought that I don't like the way the character was developed. Some of the stories were, I mean, I felt like I was watching a cool Superman movie. Um, Far From Home and Homecoming are really fun superhero movies. No Way Home is a Spider-Man movie, and that last scene of No Way Home, that's Spider-Man. That stuff that they gave you before that suited their overall collective purposes, that wasn't Spider-Man. That one that jumps out that window in that brand new bright blue costume on his own, that's Spider-Man. And I don't need to see Miles Morales have to go through what Tom Holland's Spider-Man went through. So they have a great relationship. I just hope they keep it where it needs to be. Yeah, well, and Marvel really doesn't have to give them any. They don't have to have Roper Marvel because they own the rights to that character. They can really do whatever they want to. But you know what? It's a symbiotic relationship. Like this movie right now has nothing to do with Disney's Across the Spider Verse has nothing to do with MCU Spider Man right now. Whatever happens with the all the stuff that could happen as of now, that's a completely Sony movie. But it doing as well as it's doing is going to help all Spider Man stuff. All right, because a Spider Man fan, especially a kid, doesn't know about all these inner workings. He just knows the last thing he saw Spider Man wise was kick ass. And the next thing, he's going to give his hat to the next thing. So they got a good relationship. Like I said, I just hope it stays where it needs to be. I figured RJ's movies don't feel important anymore. I don't know how to feel about that because I understand where streaming is as far as the business goes. It's the future. So studios are realizing that streaming isn't working out for them, which is why they're cutting back and panicking. Even Disney is removing content. Well, I don't think they're panicking. I think they're making an adjustment because they're not going to give up on streaming. And I don't care what any of these studio heads tell you, they plan to make streaming a priority. Regardless of what level they hammer the cinemas and all that, they plan to make streaming a priority. There's too much fixed revenue in there. They're not going to give that up. Are they making adjustments now because of COVID put things ahead of the ball? Yeah, but they'll make those adjustments. And within the next 5 years, the priority and the emphasis will be on streaming. I don't give a shit what Zaslav got up and told those people, those poor hungry wolves at CinemaCon. Just math is undefeated. And the math lends heavily towards streaming being the consistent bulk of the revenue that they plan on putting in. There is no once you make your adjustments, there's no series of films during a calendar year that can give you the type of revenue without the middleman involved that streaming can give you. And it's just a greed factor. When the movie makes $1 billion, how much do they get of that one? They get more of their money off of the streaming revenue without having to pay out a whole bunch of people, than they do when it's $1 billion movie and 33% goes to the cinemas. Then you got the people who you borrowed the money from. You got to pay them back first dollar. So yeah, it's inevitability. To what level, I don't know. But as far as streaming goes, I don't know if it's panicking. I think they're making the necessary adjustments. But trust me, they're going to swing again at that apple. They are not giving up that money. Well, thought of Chris Evans as a bearded biker warlord named Demetrius in George Miller's upcoming Ferocia. Cool. I like Chris Hemsworth. I just don't like him in the story. What is your favorite non-DC and non-Marvel superhero movie? Mine is either The Phantom or Mr. Man. The Crow. The Crow is one of the greatest comic book movies adaptations of all time, but it's definitely my favorite non-DC or Marvel one. The studios invested so much money to get the streaming challenge Netflix and get Netflix attached without understanding Netflix has to spend so much to make money that they barely make money as it is. But it's not about profitability there. It's about worth of the company, too. That's why whenever somebody says that, let's go back to the whole sell Zack Snyder to Netflix thing. People are like, well, why would they spend this much money? They wouldn't make that back. How would they make it back and all that? No. Netflix and these streamers don't look at it as a singular investment on these projects. They look at them as a collective investment and what worth they bring. They spent $500 million on Glass Onion. They were never going to pull that back dollar for dollar. There's no way they could. But having that on there and having certain things on there, having Stranger Things on there, that is a collective boost. And that goes towards your lenders, not your lenders, your investors and your financiers and your stock. That's why Netflix can run at a $12 billion deficit, because they are still pulling in so much money via subscribers, but they're also bankrolled, and they can create pretty much any project they want at any given time. So it's a collective thing. Netflix still makes a ton of money. They're still $12 billion in debt because they spend, but at any point in time, they can consolidate that, but they don't want to because they're still creating stuff. And there's still a lot of people on Netflix walking away with a lot of money. And the studio's they invested the right amount of money. They just have to make adjustments now because the market and the landscape. But make no mistake, making an adjustment is not giving up on streaming. They're just calibrating things, but there's just too much money in streaming to walk away from it. William, what are your current box offers for edition for The Flash, and did they go up? Nah, mine stays the same. What did I say before? I said I would be. I'm thinking anywhere at 750 or up. It wouldn't surprise me. $1 billion wouldn't surprise me, but 750 wouldn't surprise me either. So maybe somewhere in the middle, but I just don't know. Because if you base it on the quality of the movie, it's a $750 million or up movie. But we also, like we discussed, we have factors that have nothing to do with the movie that could hurt the movie. We have the mismanagement that's led up to this movie. We have the fact that it's not the Trinity part of this movie, even though there are Trinity types in it. The Ezra thing, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. But You have those things. So I would say 750 plus 750 to 850 would be my guess. I don't see how it would make less than that just based on Fossil Batman alone. But there are just too many factors out there right now that have zero to do with the movie. That I can't give you like a rock hard guaranteed number because I don't know. This is going to be the first event movie that DC's done in 6 years, so I don't know how the mismanagement of the company. I know how it affected all the other movies, but most of those movies were C-listers anyway. We got A-list IPs in this movie, so this is going to be strange to see if the mismanagement, if the Hamadas, the Sarnoffs, and the Emiracs, the way they manage these IPs for the past 5 to 7 years. This is where we'll find out if that damage sticks. Unfortunately, it's a possibility. You could see a Flash movie that draws 500 million. If people decide, you know what, it looks good, I don't trust it, I'll see it on HBO Max. And that's why it is so important to hire the right people. Because even when you jettison the wrong people, the damage that they've done lingers like a bad fart. So mine are the same. Mine are the same. Universal Horror Characters was the first cinematic universe. They should work together. Not really. Not in the modern era. I mean, they can, but it's not in the design as much as it is with DC Comics. Well, I thought of Deborah Snyder. So Zack Snyder split Rumble. Yeah, I heard about that. That's about right. All right, guys. Wow. We start at the bottom, and RJ's will be the last one. Then I'll work myself up. Hopefully, the Flash does well next weekend. Is going to be very interesting to say a lot about the future. I feel. Yeah. I think if the Flash doesn't do well, I actually think it makes Gunn's plight harder. Because that's an indicator that the damage done may not, and without heavy IP movies to keep people engaged in the 3 years that it could take to get his stuff off the line, I think you run the risk of losing people if you don't have good positive forward momentum. Even though what he's doing can be completely different, it's the brand name that I think people, if the Flash doesn't do well, it's the brand name that's far larger than him that I think people will have walked away from. And I don't think you'll ever get that kind of chance. All right, Jacob, you likely won't go much longer. It's pretty far back in the chat with questions. I'd probably save more for later. Bill Skarsgård is a very good actor. So I would love to have him on. All right, well, thought on SAG-AFTRA members have voted. Yeah, I think they're going to go on strike. I think Thor 4 to Ant-Man hurt the MCU in ways that they're still recovering from, to be honest with you. Yes. It kind of like the GA and fandom a little bit, not recoverable damage, but they need to get bangers out. And that's the kind of same thing with DC, but it's not just a couple bad movies. DC, it's been years and years and years, and these guys putting projects into motion that should have never been put into motion, and a lot of scar tissue. What the hell, Batman Forever over Batman Begins, William? Yes. I'm not the biggest fan of the Nolan trilogy. I'm a big fan of some of the performance in the Nolan trilogy, but I'm not a big fan of the movies themselves. I thought the movies were kind of boring. J.L. Dark and totally exists alongside the main story. It's a universe. Yes, they can, but you need to establish your bedrock in order for those kind of characters to survive on. I'm not saying don't do these C-listers, but you have to establish the beachhead before you can bring the ships closer. All right. So I think I got everybody's. I didn't like it. How you doing, Chappie? I did not like Age of Ultron. The only Avengers movie that I really, really love is the 2012. All right, guys. Yeah, we went way, way longer than I expected to go tonight. Oops. We went an hour and 33 minutes. That's like a semi overnighter or close to an overnighter than it is a Midnight Express. But you guys had a lot of questions, and I wanted to answer them. And I did go on a long while. So, all right, guys. I'm going to go get some. Actually, I already ate. I'm actually going to take some Benadryl and go to bed. And I will see you guys on tomorrow's Wednesday. I should be back on the air tomorrow, Wednesday, depending on what goes on. But I'm trying to maintain a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. I know today's Tuesday, but I didn't do yesterday. Like I said, once I get this, Enosh will probably make more announcements directly to you guys before he gets with me, and give me a heads up. But he will. His return is imminent, and I can't wait because, like I said, I think it's going to be good to have him back, and it's going to be good for him to be back amongst his friends and amongst his channel. So once he does make his return, I'll make my adjustments around the edges, and then we'll go from there. But until then, guys, have a good evening, and I will see you on the other side. If I can find my outro. Here it is. Sing along.